Market Matters. I'm Lynn, joined by Khoo Chuang. And today we have two stocks with momentum, both flagged with negative momentum, and this is brought to you by the Edge Research. So the first one up is actually Mieco Chipboard. Today the shares were up 13% or 11 cents to 94 cents, and volume of about 18 million shares. Now Mieco board produces chipboards, right? So it's in the same, same sub-area of Hevia board and Evergreen, and shares of these other board makers have also been rising of late. So Chuang, I had a look at the numbers. Second quarter net profit doubled. Revenue was just about 3%. So it's a clear margin expansion right there. How are you feeling about Mieco Chipboard?
Well, I think investors have basically voted with their feet, right? Because they've actually taken quarterly earnings and said, okay, there's proof positive that the sector is turning around, especially for these guys. And these guys are domestic players as opposed to an Evergreen or to a Hevia board. So based on those numbers and backed by those numbers, they're starting to put some money to work in Mieco Chipboard. Of course, they're not at that high end of the value chain as those two are, but it is worth a punt again. I mean, for example, these guys have been kind of been in the doldrums for the longest time. So
and you're seeing a turnaround in its numbers. But speaking of that though, Chuang, about 80% of its sales are actually to the local players, right? So sorry, 80% of its sales are actually from the local market, but they do export about 20% to Southeast Asia, Middle East. But I remember actually meeting Paul early this year for an interview, and they told me they actually source their boards from Mieco for their local operations. While in Vietnam, they actually buy from China, but for their local factories, they actually source their boards from Mieco. So their performance would tie back to furniture makers, right? Because even though they don't export directly to the US, but by virtue of these furniture makers getting more demand, so they would also need more boards from players like Mieco.
Yeah, plus also the right story, right? Because fiber boards, 20% of their sales from overseas and therefore dollar denominated. Why not, right? They might not put as much work in. They might not put as much money into Mieco as they might in Evergreen or Hevia board, but it's worth a little bit of money if you're on an asset allocation perspective.
Though this stock actually has been flagged by negative momentum, so maybe the Edge Research thinks that it has actually run up too much.
Yeah, maybe the share price is a bit rich, but there's a medium-term story here, maybe.
Right, so moving on to our next stocks with momentum, we actually have Key Asic Berhad. Right, so today this stock was slapped with the unusual market activity by Bursa for its recent rise in share price and volume. So today its share price rose up 24% or 4 cents because its base is actually quite low. It's actually at a one-year high. And this company is actually in the semiconductor industry, but the financials have not been looking too good.
Yeah, okay, so I'm trying to contain myself here because I'm actually quite excited about this stock, right? It is cheap, it is 8 cents a share, it is now 20 cents. Yeah, okay, so Bursa Malaysia might have got some ants in their pants, but don't forget, they've spent the last 4 years researching and developing their products, okay? They've got a couple of drives, they've got a couple of chips, and they've been starting to get bought up, these chips, by Toshiba and Lenovo, getting rebranded as under their own generic brand. So these guys are OEM guys, right? The other thing to point out is they're only starting to monetize these products right now. So they spent the last 4 years kind of like undercover.
They've been spending so much on R&D expenses that it's actually weighed down on their earnings, because even though revenue has been rising, it's not seeing the profits that it should
What is the number one rule in investment? Buy low, sell high, right? And 3 months ago, it was as low as you can get, right?
I get it's a big buy from you. But back to this company, right? So it's expected to launch 2 new products. I think it's been delayed, but it expects to launch it in the end of Q3. And like you mentioned, one of the products is actually this thing called K-Drive, which is a portable Wi-Fi personal backup device that does not actually require any internet connection to back up your personal data. But it remains to be seen though, Chuang. But the shareholder, Khazanah, got your eye as well.
Yeah, well, Khazanah is 27%. I think AKI and his group of, he's the managing director, they have about 40%. But the one which is a killer person here is this guy called Benny Khoo, right? Benny Khoo is the independent director. He's said to be the money man behind the rejuvenation. He's also the guy that was formerly the chairman of China Development Investment Bank, okay? He's led a whole bunch of wafer fab and all semiconductor companies. He's led buyouts of his companies to people like Taiwan Semiconductor as well. So he's got relevant experience. He's like done trade sales of 15, 16 companies beforehand, right? So Key Asic, does he have his eye turned on by this little stock? Maybe, right? If you're talking about 100x, 200x, even 150x returns at 20 cents a share, again, it's worth a punt.
Right, Chuang. So just to summarize quickly on both our stocks with momentum, we have Mieco and Key Asic. So both reflect with negative momentum. As for Key Asic, it's actually a little company that has appeared in our radar. Strong shareholding, Khazanah owning 27%, and it has not monetized its R&D in the last 4 years, but it could possibly do so in the coming times.